Magandang hapon muli, and salamat sa pagdalo sa ating pinakahuling webinar na pinamagatang Cervical Cancer Prevention, Cervical Screening and Emerging Technologies. Kung maibabalik natin yung ating pinakaunang webinar, na i-discuss natin patungkol sa cervical cancer screening. Ang screening ay isang stratehiya para masuri natin ang mga pasimula pa lamang na sakit or conditions para maagapan at magamot ito. Sa kasalukuyan, meron tayong tatlong klase ng cervical cancer screening method. At ito ay ang cytology na nahahati sa pap smear at liquid-based cytology. Another is via or visual inspection with acetic acid at HPV DNA testing. Ang main na pinagkaiba ng pap smear at liquid-based smear is yung placement of the collected specimen. Sa pap smear kasi, ang specimen ay ipinapahid sa isang slide. Whereas, sa liquid-based cytology naman, inilulublub ang specimen sa isang liquid na medium. Isa pang advantage ng liquid-based cytology is gumagamit ito ng computer, no, para mai-assist na makita yung cells more clearly compared doon sa pap smear. Ang table na ito shows the comparison between the three screening method based on the study by Shah et al. No, sa Johns Hopkins University sa Baltimore 2016. Dito, pinapakita ang advantages at disadvantages and ang performance ng bawat test. Ang pap smear ay widely accepted kasi ito yung pinakauna na nagsimula pa lang since 1928 and it was proven to be effective in 1941. Its disadvantage is it is expensive, no? Yung gamit. It requires a doctor, normally an OB at pathologist, and it is not suitable sa low resource settings. Furthermore, hindi agad-agad makukuha ang resulta nito or long assay time. LBC naman or liquid-based cytology is an improved version of the pap smear. It is more sensitive than pap smear, whereas ito naman ay more expensive. Ang VIA or the vinegar test or visual inspection with acetic acid is an inexpensive tool, no? Or ibig sabihin mura, no? And it is ideal for low resource setting. And ang resulta makukuha agad-agad. Kaso, masyadong subjective itong test na to, no? Kasi ang interpretation nito depende doon sa nagbabasa. Finally, ay ang HPV DNA, which is now being recommended as the standard of care by the World Health Organization. However, this is so expensive. At the moment, sa bansa po natin, iisa lang po ang nagdadala nito at sa pagkakaalam ko, ito ay ang High Precision Diagnostic Centers, no? Na kung saan yung test pa lang cost about 6,000 pesos. Hindi pa po kasama yung bayad sa doktor. With this kind of amount, I don't think a lot of women can really afford this test. Let us now compare no yung mga performance no nung tatlong test na to. Totoo ba na dahil mura ang isang test wala na itong kwenta? Tingnan po natin. Kung pagbabasihan niyo po sa sensitivity and specificity ng test, hindi po nagkakalayo ang pap smear, ang liquid-based cytology sa murang VIA. Notably, among these three tests, no, is the specificity of DNA testing, which is very good, no, at 97%. The rest, they are mostly between 50 to about 78%. However, when you look at the PPV, no, or the positive predicted value, no, of pap smear, liquid-based cytology, and HPV DNA, makikita mo na excellent ang PPV nila, no? About 95% pataas. Ano naman ang ibig sabihin ng PPV? Ang ibig sabihin nito, kapag positive ang resulta mo, 95% totoong positive ka na may pre-cancer ka. However, if you look at their negative predictive value or NPV, no, ng tatlong tests na to, no, pap smear, LBC at HPV DNA, hindi ito ganun kaganda, no? Ang NPV ng pap smear at ng LBC is between 8 to 10%, no? Whereas 58% naman ang HPV DNA. Anong naman ang ibig sabihin nito? Ang ibig sabihin nito is kapag negative ka at negative ang nakuha mong resulta sa pap smear, sa liquid-based cytology, or sa HPV DNA, huwag kang pasigurado kasi baka positive ka rin. This is unlike VIA, no? Which has a better non-predictive value. This means kung negative ka sa VIA, malamang negative ka talaga. Ang problem naman sa VIA is ang kanyang PPV or ang kanyang positive predictive value is 37%. Ang ibig sabihin nito, maraming nagpa-positive sa VIA na hindi naman talagang positive. Bottom line, all these screening tools are not perfect. And this is why, kapag mag-positive ka dito, you are asked to undergo colposcopy or validation. And just to be very, very sure, kailangan mo rin mag-biopsy. Now, despite all the screening tools that we have at our disposal, bakit marami pa rin ang namamatay sa cervical cancer dito sa Pilipinas?
So ano ba ang dahilan bakit ba maraming namamatay ng cervical cancer? Let's not forget, hindi naman talaga dapat silang mamatay, no? Have they had a cervical cancer screening? Una, lack of comprehensive cervical cancer screening network. Ang cervical cancer screening natin dito sa ating bansa is characterized as opportunistic. Ang ibig sabihin nito, the screening is initiated by a person or a doctor. Ideally, dapat we should have a population-based cervical cancer screening na kung saan ang mga babae ay iniimbitahan para magkaroon ng screening. Meron man silang nararamdaman o wala, na iimbitahan sila sa mga ganitong klase ng screening. Based on the WHO 2001 health survey, no, doon makikita na only 7.7% ng ating mga kababaihan had undergone cervical cancer screening. Whereas, ang requirement ni WHO is dapat maka 70% tayo ng total population. So ang layo pa natin, no, para ma-accomplish natin yung goal na 70%. Number 2 is the lack of awareness. There is a generally lack of awareness among our women population, no? Unlike breast, no? Kung nakikita ito, madali itong maintindihan kapag sinabi mong breast cancer. Pero pag sinabi mong cervical cancer, nasaan ba ang lokasyon ng cervix? Kung ito'y nakatago, mas maraming hindi nakakaintindi at walang masyadong may alam kung nasaan ang cervix.
Meron po ba kayong idea kung ano ang cervical cancer?
Wala po eh.
Cervical cancer, ha? Sa palagay niyo po, ano po ang cervical cancer? Meron po ba kayong idea kung ano yung cervical cancer?
Ano, sakit na nakakamatay.
Sakit na nakakamatay. Meron po ba kayong idea kung ano yung cervical cancer?
Wala po eh.
Wala. Pwede po bang malaman kung ano po ang idea niyo sa cervical cancer?
Ano ba? Women's, problem.
Okay.
Nowadays.
Ano sa palagay mo ang cervical cancer?
Cervical cancer. On purpose.
Alam mo ba kung ano yung cervical cancer?
Sa daddy po, buto.
Okay.
Alam mo ba kung ano ang cervical cancer?
Cervical cancer. Yung sa, ano lang ang babae, gano'n?
sa ari ng babae.
Pangatlo, frequently no associated symptoms. The cause of cervical cancer is HPV infection. Ang HPV-causing cancer does not provide symptoms. Dahil ba sa walang simptomas ito, ang mga lalaki or men can pass it to other women through sexual intercourse silently. So now, the transmission is silent. Once the HPV is transmitted to you, may potential ito na maging cervical cancer. Although hindi naman namin sinasabi na lahat ng HPV infection will proceed to cervical cancer. Yung ibang HPV infection will persist and proceed to cervical cancer. Again, itong HPV persistence na ito, 0 ang simptomas. So that will not warrant you to seek consult to a doctor. As time goes by, mag-change ito into a pre-cancer lesion, or yung bang papunta na sa cancer. At this stage, again, 0 ang simptomas. A few more months to years later, yung pre-cancer mo will go into stage 1, cervical cancer. Dito, 0 to about a few symptoms ang mararanasan. But most often than not, it will not still warrant you to come and seek consult to a doctor. Later, as months pass to years, magiging stage 2 ka na and stage 3. Then, the vaginal bleeding starts. Dito, papatingin ka na. Unfortunately, at this stage, your chance of survival, drops. From 100%, it can drop to about 60% when you reach stage 2 or down to 30% when you reach to stage 3. Ang ibig sabihin nito, ito yung porsyento na buhay ka in the next 5 years. Nag-effort ka na, gumastos ka pa, di ka pa sure kung buhay ka within the next 5 years. So anong dapat gawin? And lastly, the lack of screening facilities and expertise and of treatment facilities in the rural areas. In a study by Sorrento et al., which compared urban versus rural community screening program, urban being represented by the National Capital Region, whereas rural, represented by Bicol, showed the disparity between these two areas. Lahat po ng nasa rural when compared to Manila, kulang. Mula sa cervical cancer screening coverage, hanggang sa number of screening facilities per population ratio, hanggang sa number of clinic to population ratio, and the number of personnel to population ratio. Lahat kulang pagdating sa probinsya. Kulang sa supply, kulang sa dami ng fasilidad. Let's look now naman sa number of expert, the doctors, to take care and screen our women population. Kakayanin kung sila lang ba? Imagine lang natin ang total screening population natin is about 25 million, These are age 25 to 65 years old, and assuming there are only 6,000 OB. Did you know it will take each OB to screen 4,155 patients in a year, or 12 patients per day for 365 days, meaning walang Pasko, walang New Year, walang mahal na araw, para ma-screen nila lahat yung 25 million women. Take also into consideration geography, as most doctors are practicing in the city and not in the rural areas. I guess, isa na ako doon sa makasalanan, na nagpa-practice dito sa syudad at hindi sa probinsya. And by God, thank you for the midwives. Kasi kung hindi sila, sino na? So behind all this, 11 of our kababaihan are namamatay araw-araw sa sakit na entirely preventable. I'm sure most of these women na nagkaroon ng cervical cancer ngunit namatay, gumastos ng katakot-takot na perang pagpapagamot sa pagbabakasakaling ma-cure sila ng cancer nila. Pero sa isang banda, imagine nyo na lang if yung perang iginastos nila, na ipinag-screen nila or ipinag-screen ng taong bayan, Hindi ba mas economical yon at walang loss of life?
And bago pa man natin i-end ang first segment of our discussion, I would like to thank the Inner Wheel clubs who supported us our campaign yesterday, linggo, kasi nagkaroon po kami ng cervical cancer screening sa Barangay 867 Zone 95, Kahilom 2, sa Pandacan, Manila, through Chairman Mr. Jet Valderrama, But of course, mas maraming salamat, sa mga tumulong sa amin, na makarating doon, Of course, ang Inner Wheel Club of Central Makati, ang IWC Makati North, ang IWC Makati, ang IWC Makati San Antonio, IWC Taguig, yung mga IWC na nakapunta doon, let's call them, si Miss Riza, IWC Muntinlupa Philinvest, there were also coming from Rotary who were able to view our cervical screening, yung Rotary Club of Cubao Sunrise, of course represented by Miss May Lalin de Dios, and RC Mega EDSA also, of course yung aking club, yung Rotary Club of Manila South, which is represented by our life-changing president Attorney Mario Junicio, and a new member, Attorney K Katapang, So yon, maraming salamat po. Yesterday, just to give you an update, we were able to screen 26 patient only, Pero maniwalat ka sa hindi, apat doon na nakita ko, I am sure that they are on the pre-cancer stage, And there are 3 other more, na in-identify ni artificial intelligence na survey na sinabi niya may lesion pero hindi pa ako masyadong 100% sure. So sabi ko sa mga apat na pasyente, balik kayo after 3 to 6 months, and then if after, merong nandoon pa rin yung nakikita namin, then maybe we can treat them already. So just to share our patients, roll VDR.
Ngayong nalaman na natin, where do we go from here? Here are some things you can do. Una, awareness. You can start by creating an awareness campaign. Siyempre, ideally, it should start from you. My advice is magpa-cervical screening ka. Busy? But think about this. How valuable is 5 minutes of your time when the impact of cervical cancer lasts a lifetime? Speaking of 5 minutes, you might want to try out our cervical cancer screening test. In just 5 minutes, may resulta ka na. Try it out and get the cervical screening experience para mismo ikaw ma-aware ka. Our cervical screening team are all women, so you don't have to worry as we hold our clinic at the Fedelmundo Medical Arts Building along Banawe in Quezon City. You can share your new experience to your workmate. Ang Cervic po, nag-i-screen kami sa loob ng clinic, sa kumpanya, because our equipments are all mobile and portable. Kung may-ari ka ng kumpanya, I am very sure maiintindihan mo ang value ng mga taong nagpapagalaw ng kumpanya mo, as they are important to you and your company, as their health too is important to them. Cervic has dreams too of coming out soon with a mobile cervical cancer screening bus. Kanina, nabanggit ko na kulang-kulang ang mga resources sa probinsya. Imagine, if kung meron kayong sobrang bus dyan na pwedeng ipahiram sa amin, pwede naming iikot yan sa buong Pilipinas. Now you don't even have to build a health center facility. The screening and the treatment will be done inside the bus and would go barangay to barangay, village to village. Especially now na nag-pandemic, ang tao ayaw nang pumunta sa ospital unless necessary. They prefer sa clinic or sa mga independent laboratory centers. Another awareness you can do is the mere sharing of informations on cervical cancer. Wala ka bang ma-share? Alam mo ba this lecture, this recording, this will be made available for you on our website. So all you need to do is to share. Likewise, pwede mo na ring balik-balikan. Now, if you are a leader in an organization and you wish to conduct talks, Cervic is right here to help you. We have doctors who can provide medical talk, small talk, big talk like in webinars or symposia, or eto pinakamabigat, TikTok. Furthermore, meron din kaming Cervic TV. This is an online streaming shown every Sunday na live on Facebook and YouTube where we discuss more on awareness and the things our group is passionate about. Very soon, we will be having our radio station. Hopefully, in September and October, baka, one of these days, pwede kayong mag-guest. Number 2, screening. Let's start first with our equipment. Ang gamit po namin for screening is an equipment called colposcope. The procedure is called colposcopy. Para saan ba yung colposcopy na yan? Tingnan po natin ito. Ang cervical cancer screening ay ginagawa sa pamamagitan ng tatlong pagkakaibang test. Ang pinaka-common is ang pap smear. Sunod ay ang VIA or ang visual inspection with acetic acid or otherwise called vinegar test. Ang yung pinakahuli ay ang HPV DNA testing. Ngayon, kung mag-positive ka, meaning suspicious ka for precancerous lesion, ang irirekomenda po sa inyo is colposcopy. Kung sakali naman na positive ka sa colposcopy, then ibabiopsy ka. Pag sinabi palang precancerous lesion, hindi po ibig sabihin cancer na ito. Ang ibig pong sabihin nito, ang lesion ay nasa balat pa lamang ng cervix na malamang ay papunta na doon sa cervical cancer. Sa cervix po, agad-agad combined VIA na at colposcopy. So, sa tingin nyo, sino mas accurate? Another plus factor is the artificial intelligence, or AI. Bukod tangi pa lang kami sa buong Pilipinas ang meron nito, artificial intelligence in healthcare. Now, does artificial intelligence compete with doctors? The answer is no. AI does not compete with doctors. Instead, AI assists the doctors to make the best decision. Sa bansa po natin na kung saan kulang ang mga doktor, ano po kaya sa tingin ninyo ang magandang solusyon para matugunan ang pangangailangan ng mga kababaihan? The solution, released sa pagkakaalam ko, this was in 2005, was to train some midwives to conduct cervical cancer screening per region. Ang test na ginagawa nila is the VIA test or the visual inspection with acetic acid. But ang VIA po is a subjective test. Hindi maliwanag and hindi straightforward ang test na ito. Hindi ito tulad ng pregnancy test kit kapag 2 guhit, patay. Patay kang bata ka dahil nakabuntis ka. VIA results may vary from one person to another. Hence, quality assurance is a concern. Now, using artificial intelligence, ang resulta parang computer, consistent. Walang emotion, walang hangover, it's reproducible day in, day out. Furthermore, Ang standard na via, walang documentation. Para po magkaresulta ang pasyente, dinodrawing sa isang papel nung nag-via ang nakita niya. And place sa paper ang interpretation niya. Kung positive, negative, or suspicious for cancer. Hindi ito tulad kapag gumamit ka ng colposcope, where a high-quality photo of the cervix is taken and becomes part of the patient's medical record. The image is sent abroad to South Korea for artificial intelligence interpretation. Yun lang, may bayad po ito, $12 per patient. Mahal? Yes, mahal. Pero alam niyo po ba how much ang PhilHealth reimbursement ng colposcopy procedure? 8,000 pesos or more. So sino pong mas mahal now? On the other hand, if you are not comfortable na walang doktor, not a problem. The captured images along with the artificial intelligence interpretation can be accessed by the OB specialist as long beforehand nakapag-sign up yung doktor, just so we can send it to her automatically. Ang accuracy po ng AI-assisted via colposcopy namin is reported to be 93% sensitivity and 89% specificity. 3. System. Cervic will launch very soon a software infrastructure system called Cervic.online. Dito, ang pasyente can book a cervical cancer screening in any location that is using a cervix screening solution. Lahat ng mga data ng pasyente at data na need ng doktor will be inside. For security reason, each patient will have a Cervic online account na kung saan ang nilalaman nito ay ang lahat ng cervical cancer screening record niya. Likewise, her follow-up schedules, her next treatments, and next checkups. So now it would be very convenient for patients and easy to share the information to their doctors. Goodbye na sa mga papel, as everything can be digital. But there are people who are paper more. Hindi talaga sila paperless. Well, they can print the record at any given time. Ang beauty ng system na ito is during medical missions. Dahil ngayon pandemic na and bawal na ang pila, using the system we can probably eliminate pila because each individual will have their own schedule by the hour. Let me show you a quick step-by-step process of what the system can do. 1. Patient enters data and books a schedule. 2. Habang nag-aantay ng scheduled appointment, the patient is asked questions online kung ano ba ang cervical cancer. Base ngayon sa mga sagot niya, meron siyang papanoorin na video explaining like the ones you are hearing now. Diba kahit papaano natututo kayo? Ang point kasi namin dito is we want to highlight to mothers the importance and the need for cervical cancer screening plus the benefits. We would also want to educate them on HPV. Pagdating sa screening day, so medyo fast forward na tayo, immediately pagkahiga ng pasyente, the attending midwife will place the speculum. Of course, we'll make sure that the speculum is body warm para hindi malamigan, and at the same time, gumagamit po kami ng lubricant. Once na ipasok na ang speculum, nililinis ang cervical os with the plain NSS, after which a picture of the cervix is done. Itong picture na to, this is for the doctor, just so she understands the pre-vinegar condition of the cervix. Once this is done, 3 to 5% acidic acid is placed over the cervix and soaked for 1 minute. Immediately after removing, a photo is taken using the colposcope. We normally take a minimum of 4 post-vinegar test photos. With the touch of a button, the image are immediately sent to South Korea for artificial intelligence interpretation. Within 1 to 5 minutes, may resulta ka na. The result will also be automatically forwarded to the patient's account. Should you want to print, you can print anytime. Should you want to send it to a doctor for her opinion on the case, as long as previously naka-sign up na po yung doktor automated na yan. The doctor can access the survey experts where she can make the final diagnosis. Everything po is digital and stored in the cloud. Once a result is released, appropriate actions will be based on the result. If negative, pauwiin ang pasyente. If the result is positive, we can treat same day using cryotherapy kung kakayanin. If hindi kayas ng cryotherapy, then the patient may be referred to an OBGYN within the locality for conization. If, however naman, suspicious for malignancy or cancer, biopsy is done same day. Lahat ng data na makukuha namin will be shared to both the Department of Health through Dr. Eric Tayag and the Philippine Cancer Society through Director Rom Marcaida. Ang purpose kasi namin is to build up a population-based cervical cancer screening network. Lastly is treatment. Nabanggit ko na po a few seconds ago that we do have cryotherapy kung just in case we saw positive patients. Again, kung hindi namin kakayanin dahil medyo extensive ng konti, we can refer the patient sa isang OBGYN within the locality for conization. And if the patient is suspicious for malignancy or cancer, biopsy can be done same day.